Hey, I'm Cyclone, and today I want to talk with you about the 3.25 changes that will impact the bow Deadeye, and what we will have to do in the upcoming league to mitigate those. Now, I'm gonna tell you straight up, we're gonna be a-okay. I don't think these changes will have a big impact on us, we just need to be aware of them. So, starting with Far Shot. Far Shot is getting reverted to its initial state. Instead of its current iteration of giving 20% less damage at close range and up to 60% more damage at far away, meaning 70 units away, it now only gives no penalty at close range and up to 30% more damage at far away. So, this means it's reverted to its initial state. We had this before, and what we used to do is we had both point blank and far shot. Meaning, with the graph I'm showing on the screen, we can have again high damage on everything up to about 50 units, and then the damage will drastically fall off, compared to just far shot, which will only start to shine then. So with this, we now can either have, if we only need to clear on screen like Ritual or Ultimatum, can have both and have high damage at closer range, or we can just grab Far Shot and have very high damage and off-screening, for example for Legion. The next change to the Deadeye Ascendancy is a nerf to Tailwind. Gathering Winds no longer gives 15% increased effect per stack, it now only gives 10% increased effect per stack of Gale Fall. This means that at maximum stacks instead of 20% action speed, we now only have 16%. Which, to be fair, is still in a very good state. We only lost 4% action speed, which is marginal. It's gonna be missed, but we will be able to live without it. Next, on the passive tree. Panopticon and Surveillance got merged into a single node and moved closer to the ranger side of the tree. Assuming you have point blank and a dex node in front of it, you will only need one additional dex node, one additional travel node to grab Surveillance. Also, if you used to grab it, you needed up to 6 travel nodes or 5 if you had the dex node. So it's now way closer and it's easier to spec into, meaning if you need ballistas, you now have 2 very close ballistas that you can grab, or additional ballistas. Another thing that got slightly moved but isn't actually any impactful at all is multi-shot. Now in a Trink run where you maybe rush 2 additional projectiles, it is now 1 passive point closer, meaning you need 1 less level. In a normal run, after we grab Primal Force and have everything on the left side of the tree, we usually travel upwards and grab Blood Drinker and Clever Thief next. In this case, we don't really, it doesn't really affect us, because multi-shot would have been grabbed after, meaning we already were at the traveling node. We don't really need to spend any points grabbing that first, we had already all travel done. So no impact on that. Now to the skill gems. Elemental Hit of the Spectrum actually got a slight buff in my opinion. The fire damage and the cold damage got slightly increased, while the lightning damage got slightly reduced, meaning we have overall a little bit higher damage, and it's gonna be more consistently higher. So this is overall a buff. I think even in just the terms, except the lightning damage that got slightly reduced, it's a buff straight up, honestly. Then the other bow skill gems like Shrapnel Ballista, Galvanic Arrow, Burning Arrow, Lightning Arrow, and Ice Shot got their flat damage removed. Now this change will affect you up to level 4. Let me explain. On level 1 to level 4, you have a quad bow. You maybe have an iron ring, but maybe you don't because vendors sometimes are annoying. So you have no flat damage, and it's gonna be very low damage on these stages. However, once you hit level 5, you have access to short bow, and you should now at least have an iron ring because the vendor refreshed once, and you can have 13.5 flat damage already in average. Combining that with the old Shrapnel Ballista, so in 3.24 current patch, of 2.5 added flat damage average and 38% effectiveness of damage, that would result in 6 damage averageness. Now in the next league, with 0 added flat damage and 46% effectiveness, it's still 6% average damage. Meaning, at this point, as long as you are on a good bow, you're not going to feel the changes to the flat damage. You are going to be more reliant on having a bow though. Later stages, for example, when you have a triple T2 elemental bow, you have a total flat damage of 694. Combining this with the old lightning arrow, so 324 lightning arrow of 90 flat damage and 154 effectiveness, results in 1207 damage. While the new lightning arrow, with 0 flat damage and 177 damage effectiveness, will now result in a 1228. So as soon as you get good rolls, it's gonna get better. But wait, there's more. With the changes to quality being a more multiplier, 1 blacksmith redstone early, 2 in the later parts of campaign, and 4 in the later parts of maps, unless for unique bows of course, will result in 20% quality, and that results in 20% more base damage, meaning that your fizz more rolls on your bow, the base fizz, and any rolls too physical, will be further increasing your damage. So as long as we have some blacksmiths, we are already gonna be doing more damage, meaning we are already gonna have more damage than with the change. On top of that, if this is now an assumption, the random gambled items on the new vendor in the new town are gonna be giving us a decent amount of rare or magic outcomes and are gonna be reasonably costing gold, meaning we can just kill a few enemies, get a bit of gold, go there and buy a bow and hope that it's a good rolled one. And this should allow us to be on a decent bow more consistently, meaning we're not gonna be feeling the downside once we can start doing that and regularly upgrade our bow. Finally, there's one thing that I need to mention that might affect us bow players, but honestly, if it does, it affects everybody. The two changes to rarity, quantity, reliquary scarabs, and divination scarabs. High demand uniques in the first week might be on a higher price for a longer time frame. Usually the demand very quickly falls below the supply. So usually we have a very high demand early and a very low supply, and then in a few days the supply starts to overwhelm the demand. However, due to the lack of knowledge how div cards are gonna be dropping, who don't know how good they're gonna, how consistent they're gonna be, due to we don't know how many uniques are gonna be farmed by groups and by solo people, it could be that the demand will take longer to fill up the supply. The demand will stay longer over the supply. The supply is going to take longer to fill up their demand. So this is just a fair warning. Everything might be a little bit more expensive for a little longer. All that being said, I will need to get back to my practice. I will be streaming live on Twitch every evening on GMT +2 time. So if you want to check out what I'm practicing, what I'm planning, feel free to take a look at it. Feel free to chat. But of course, if that's not your case, see you in the next video. Goodbye and have a wonderful day and a wonderful time prepping for the league.